All right, welcome to Lesson Notes, and today I want to do a little bit of a different format. You can see I'm here on video, I've got some Trackman data, and we've got some swing video. And I thought it would be an interesting discussion to talk about Trackman data as it relates to the video. Like, can you see the Trackman data in the video? Are there things I can look at if I don't have access to Trackman? So that's one thing. And then two, a lot of people are hitting on Trackman more and more. It's becoming more accessible. More coaches have it, and frankly, more people have it just in their homes or personal use at the driving range. Even driving ranges nowadays have Trackman range. So you most likely, when you go to a club fitting or if you take a lesson, you're going to be hitting on Trackman. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about some of the numbers, how they show up on video. Can you see them on video? And I thought that might be kind of a helpful thing. So let's start with this top line. You've got club speed, ball speed, carry, total. Those really are the speed numbers, and those are the things that are going to correlate with how far the ball is going. So what do I look at club head speed? So one would be how fast is someone swinging relative to how fast they need to be swinging. So for this young lady, she's about to play Division I golf at Oklahoma State. Her swinging 97 miles an hour is totally fine. That's well above average for a college player. And then looking at her ball speed, in the low to mid 140s is where we would expect that. So I would say with those two numbers, whatever you're expecting, like that's what I would be looking at. When you start noticing those numbers getting off, whether the club head speed has gone down a lot, which happens, this time of year where it's cold, you're not swinging as fast, you're not hitting as much. Sometimes club head speed goes down because someone's not paying attention to the length of their backswing. So it's just something to be looking at. If she showed up to the next session and she was swinging 90 or 92 miles an hour, there would definitely be a discussion. Okay, what is going on that the club head speed is down? And then obviously the ball speed should correlate with the club head speed. Obviously the driver is going to go faster than all the other clubs, but that's just something I'd be paying attention to. And then as far as the carry and total numbers, those should kind of be like the ball speed. They should be an expected number. So she should be driving her ball in the air 250 yards, then that's where it should be. If it's not hitting those numbers, then something is either off on the contact, the launch angle, the spin. And so again, whenever you're hitting, especially if you go to like a Trackman range or you're in a lesson, these are probably the numbers you're going to look at more than anything, just because they're the things that are easy to kind of look at and go, oh, that must have been a good shot because it went the distance that I wanted. This next row, this club path, swing direction, attack angle, and face angle, I would say this is more for, when you're in a session with a coach or you're looking at your swing on video. This is kind of where it's going to start to separate itself, and you'll be able to have some metrics that you can look at. So when it comes to club path is not very easy to see on video because it really is three-dimensional with the swing direction and attack angle. So I think what you can see on video pretty clearly is the swing direction. And so I think there's a pretty easy way to kind of understand this. So I'm going to draw on this video the impact plane. Impact plane really would just be when someone hits the ball, where is their shaft relative to the golf ball to impact. And so what we can see on the downswing here at this club parallel before the ball is struck is where is the club head relative to that yellow line. The club is going to get to that yellow line. You can see right there, it definitely got to it. This video is not in slow-mo, but that at impact, that's where the shaft was. So when we start seeing that the club head is here, we can kind of start to draw some dots on the club head, and I think that paints a pretty clear picture as far as what the swing direction would be. And we can see that this group of dots is definitely aimed to the right. So if I were to kind of draw a little line here, you can see that's kind of the manifestation of swing direction. It's not perfect, but it is pretty darn close to what that would look like. And so if someone had a swing direction of 0, which I'm not saying that's good or bad, that just is what it is, that'd be more neutral. This one it'd be showing up as going up and down that yellow line a little bit more. Now, if we were to shift over to attack angle, so generally speaking, when someone is swinging more right, they're also going to be swinging more up. And so that is a very, very common group of numbers to see. Attack angle is measured as is the club moving up or down relative to the ground at impact. And so when you see a number at +8, that is obviously pretty far up, and that club is almost bottoming out before the golf ball. And so when we shift back to club path is really a marriage of swing direction and attack angle. And so if you want to think of it this way, the attack angle is working up and left while the swing direction is working to the right. So in this case, with the attack angle being more positive or more up than the swing direction, that's why the club path is actually left. And this is a really interesting thing because you'll have a player say, man, I really feel like I'm hitting a draw, but they're hitting a fade. That is probably because the attack angle is too up. So those are just really important concepts to understand. If you're a coach, you definitely need to understand that triad of club path, swing direction, and attack angle. And if you're a player, I think it's nice to know, what are my good numbers? Where am I swinging my best? And then as far as face angle, I don't really look at face to path. I like to look at face angle. The reason that this face angle is open, 3.7 degrees open to the target, is two reasons. One, when you're swinging that far right, most likely the face will be open. But then two, you can see when we drop down to this third row, these bottom two numbers are impact offset and impact height. That's basically where you're hitting it on the face. This is very, very easy to do with some Dr. Scholl spray just to see where the contact is. But Trackman almost always reads a toe strike as an open face because as you come in and strike the toe, the face is going to be more open. And if you were to heel it, that's going to shut the face. So this toe strike spun the face open and then basically created an overdraw, which would not be great. That's why the spin is a little bit low. Generally, if you're hitting the ball off the toe, it's going to spin very low. And then the launch angle being at close to 19 really is a reflection more of the attack angle being so up. So all that to say, like when I'm seeing someone, I'm looking at all these numbers and I'm trying to see how do they fit together. And then especially with what the player is describing as the problem. So let's jump over to an adjusted swing. This was the swing I had with her on her first session. Then I saw her a couple days ago. And so let's go over that swing and kind of go over the Trackman data. Okay, so here we are with the adjusted video and the adjusted Trackman data. And so this is our session a couple weeks later. Swing is in a very different spot, and the Trackman data is showing up as different. So if we go to the top line, you can see there club head speed's the same. There's the ball speed at 144 like we talked about. Now, the reason that the carry is a little bit lower is because the launch angle, you can see bottom right, is not as high, which is totally fine. But the total was about the same. So if we wanted to get the launch angle a little bit higher, it wouldn't necessarily be through doing anything different than the swing. Maybe if you go back to like maybe a driver fitting was when she was hitting 7 or 8 degrees up, they obviously put her probably in less loft. Well, now maybe the driver can be lofted up a little bit versus shifting the attack angle back up. So now if we go to the second line there of the club path, swing direction, attack angle, and face angle, you can see those numbers are obviously much more neutral. In general, this ball should go a lot straighter. This would be more my preference if I was working with someone, especially if they're pretty darn fast like she is. And so if we were to draw that line, the impact plane, let's go ahead and do that. So play out to impact, roughly there. We'll get pretty close. And so what we're going to see is at that club parallel, now you can see the difference. So you can see the swing direction is at 2.6, and you can see the club head is basically, pretty much on the hands, just below. So that is the manifestation of the swing direction being much more close to zero, which again, I'm not saying zero is better, but with someone that comes in saying they struggle with hooks and lefts, you probably want that to look a little bit less dry. And so if I were to play that out, I'm not going to draw the dots, but we can see get to impact. The club's just not shifting off that line very much. So that means that the swing direction is pretty darn neutral. Now, as I talked about in the previous video, because the swing direction is not so far right, the attack angle is now not going to be as up. So that is almost always a correlation that you see with swing direction and attack angle is the more that the swing direction is neutral, and if it went left, in many cases the attack angle will go down. That kind of leveled out the 2.6, 1.8. And so the club path shows up as only being about 1, right? Because again, as you're hitting up, you're also hitting left, so the swing direction shifted about a degree back to the left. And then the face angle was in a really nice spot. You can see on this one, we go to that bottom row, it was 9 millimeters toe. 9 millimeters is the width of my pinky, basically, so not very much. So that really wasn't an open face because of the toe strike. That was more open just because you can see we have that stick on the ground here. We were trying to start the ball right of the stick. And so, contact there was good. We're definitely seeing less toe through the bag for her because of the swing changes we made. Just real quick, we can go back to the top. You can see her position there is in a much different spot, not near as far across as it was. I'll put a link to our first lesson together. And then as far as the launch angle, like I said, it's much lower because the attack angle isn't as up. And spin rate, the spin there is a little bit low. That's probably correlated to the launch angle being lower. If we were to add some launch, it would spin a little bit more, and we'd get probably that number to like 245 carry, 250 carry pretty easily. So all that to say that when you're taking lessons or you're looking at your video and you do have access to this stuff, hopefully this kind of paints a picture of what you'd be looking for. The data is all useful. You do not need to look at all of it. If you're a coach, you don't need to look at all of it. You need to kind of find your blueprint of what makes sense to you and what you find helpful in your coaching. And then as best you can, find your blueprint numbers and stick to those. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Drop a comment, drop a note, subscribe if you haven't. And find yourself on a Trackman, and hopefully this video helps you out.